Oh, hi there. How's it going? Hey, I'm sure glad you stopped by. I was just settling down here after dinner and I just came across this old short story I'd written years ago and just gonna read it. But, since you're here and everything, you want to hear a story? Oh, right on. Good. Hey, so I'll just launch right into the story and you'll probably figure out what the title is by the time I get to the end. If you do, you have any guesses or anything, just put it in the comments section. I answer every comment on here, so it'll be good. So anyway, here's my story. I wrote it back in 2006. So I was 13 years old when it arrived in the back of my dad's pickup truck that night. He bought it as a surprise for me. That surprise became more than it initially appeared to be, much more. It was the beginning of a 7-year bond that helped transform a young boy into a full-grown man. I recall being inside the house when my dad came home that night, and he told me that he had something he wanted me to see. "What is it?" I asked. He said to come outside and he would show me. I put my shoes on and stepped out into the darkness. Dad said, "Come over here and have a look." As I walked out of the carport and onto the driveway, I could see it in the back of Dad's pickup. My heart skipped a beat. Could it be? I wondered. A closer look revealed a resounding yes. There it was in all its glory, the holiest of holy grails to a teenage boy. The yard light illuminated enough for me to see the details. It was a dark copper color, but wait. It also had light copper and brown highlights swirled in it as well. "Well, what do you think?" my dad asked. "It's great," I enthusiastically replied. Great was an understatement. You see, I was thrilled. I was surprised, and I was utterly speechless. Great did not even come close to adequately describing the intense feelings I was experiencing at that moment. "Well, let's get it off the truck." I think my dad was as excited as I was. He undid the straps and unloaded it. We put it beside the carport where we could get a better look at it. Side stand down, chrome fenders glistening in the light from the carport, custom paint with matching helmet, and aggressive knobby tires encircling shiny spoked wheels. It symbolized everything that's important to me. Freedom, responsibility, my dad's trust in me, and, most importantly, it symbolized fun. It was a 1974 Kawasaki G4 100 Trail Edition. Great bike. It had a high-low range transmission, 5 speeds in high and 5 in low. It shifted differently than most bikes. All 5 gears were up, with neutral being at the bottom. And most bikes are 1 down, 4 up. What I didn't realize at the time was this bike, this seemingly inanimate object, was to become a constant companion to me from the earliest of spring thaw until the snow was too deep for me to keep my feet on the pegs, and I'd have to ride down the road with my feet as outriggers. This relationship would continue on for 7 years. I learned a lot, discovered new places, and spent time with my friends on that bike over those 7 years. My dad and I repaired the bike on occasion, and we even rebuilt it once. Dad had the cylinder bored out to 110cc, and he showed me how to install a new piston and rings into it. He also showed me how to tear down the carburetor and clean it. When the rear sprocket wore out, and I couldn't afford another one, a friend of the family, who was our neighbor and also a welder, built it back up with welding rod and painstakingly ground it until it was brand new. I used to work on a ranch on the weekends for my friend's dad. His dad paid me $10 a day and they fed me more than I could eat. It was a great way for me to make $20 in a weekend and still hang out with my buddy and ride bike. Their ranch was about 2 miles down a dirt road from our house, so quite a few miles were racked up on my bike just getting to work and back. They had quite a spread of property, including fields up on top of the mountain. The bikes were a handy way of getting up there. Between this job and the money that I made by milking cows and doing chores at home, I was able to keep my bike fueled and maintained. And during the first season I had it, I could never keep a headlight working on that thing. It had a 6-volt electrical system with a magneto. Through a lot of troubleshooting and asking around, I found out that while a magneto will keep power to the bike, it will also burn out headlights unless it's buffered by a fully charged battery. I also discovered that my battery had a dead cell and wouldn't take a charge, so I had to save up for a new one. So during the second season, I bought a new battery and headlight for my bike. Once the battery was charged and headlight was installed, I was going to go for my first ride at night. A new adventure. I was 14 and I was excited. I called my friend at the ranch and he said to come on over. I started the bike, tried out the high beam, low beam on the headlight, and then set off into the darkness. When I arrived at the ranch, they told me my friend had already gone out for a ride, and he said for me to meet him at the old cemetery. Right on, I thought. He wants to head up to the top field. The road to the top field was a great ride through the forest, complete with switchbacks and natural jumps formed by water runoff. I was looking forward to rediscovering it again at night. I rode the gravel road toward the meeting place, enjoying the night air and the view of my newly illuminated speedometer. With a top speed of 60 miles an hour, the bike was by no means a power wagon. But on this particular stretch of road, I could comfortably get it to do 50 miles an hour, which is exactly what I proceeded to do. And then it happened. I was traveling at just under 50 miles an hour with my new headlight carving a tunnel of daylight through the darkness, when the first one landed on the road from the right side about 10 yards in front of me. Without pause, it sprang to the left side of the road in a single bound, followed by a quick hop over the fence and up the hill. Without slowing down, I had only just resumed looking at the road ahead when the second one landed right in front of me, leaving me less than a split second to react. The human brain is a very amazing organ when under pressure. With less than a split second to spare, there was seemingly no time to think at all. Reflex took over. I firmly applied the rear brake while steering into the skid, then slammed into the deer with the right side of the bike. The sudden impact knocked the three of us over to begin our 50-yard grind down the road. After the dust had settled and I finally regained the ability to breathe after having the wind so violently knocked out of me, I somehow managed while lying on my side to shut the bike off and get clear of both the bike and the deer. Remember that my right leg was pinned between the bike and the deer. I don't remember how I did it, but I can say this: adrenaline is wonderful. Once free of the wreckage, I lifted the bike off the deer, remembering to put the kickstand down. I proceeded to try to help the deer up, but I was reminded by its kicking and flailing about that deer hooves can be razor sharp. I decided to let the deer get up under its own power. The deer did end up on its feet and it bounded away over the fence and up the hill. My attention was turned to the sound of my friend's bike approaching. I still felt alarmingly calm and composed about the situation, mostly because I hadn't yet noticed the condition of my beloved bike. My friend arrived at the scene and asked me if I was alright. I told him I was okay. He said he saw my headlight from his vantage point at the old cemetery and then it just disappeared. After I told him about the deer, he said to try to start my bike and we would get back to the house to check me over. One flash of his headlight on my bike told both of us that it was not going to happen. The bike looked a mess. The headlight was broken and shifted over the side, the front fender twisted down beside the tire, and a huge dent that was suspiciously about the same size as my knee appeared on the fuel tank. That sealed it. Every ounce of the 14-year-old macho brave front I held melted away as I tearfully mourned the loss of my 1-year-old companion. My friend told me to get on his bike and we'd ride to the house and call my dad. I first realized that I was hurt when we walked into the house and my friend told me I was bleeding all over his mom's floor. Amazingly enough, I had not felt any pain until this point, when I became aware of a deep throbbing in my right arm. His mom sat me down and dressed my arm with some bandages. As it turned out, I had 2 patches of road rash on my forearm, each about 1.5 inches wide and 2 inches long. The skin was gone, but my arm was not broken. I took a deep breath and called my dad to tell him I had wrecked my bike. After asking me if I was alright and assuring me that machines can always be replaced but people cannot, he said he would be right there. We loaded the bike into my dad's truck and headed home. I felt terrible. My dad had bought me this bike only a year before, and I had managed to destroy it, or so I thought. Dad was more than great about the way he handled it, and I learned a valuable lesson that night. Machines can always be replaced, but people cannot. Dad and I had a look at the bike, and it turned out that the damages were not as bad as I had previously thought they were. We straightened out the headlight housing, replaced the headlight, and straightened the front fender. The dent in the fuel tank, well, that remained. It was a good reminder of 3 things. To keep my speed down at night, that using my forearm as an outrigger on a gravel road hurts, and that deer almost always travel in pairs. Besides, the dent in the fuel tank was a great battle scar, which gave me bragging rights with my friends who had since taken to calling me the deer hunter. Alright, there it is. There's my story. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you haven't already subscribed, hey, right down there, hit that subscribe button. Maybe hit the like button and hit the bell so that it can notify you of any future videos coming up. I plan to do a whole bunch. So, anyway, thanks again for stopping by. Have a good night, and you all take good care of each other. All right, bye-bye.